It was Friday night in Los Angeles, and the Belmont glimmered under a soft golden light. Chandeliers reflected off the polished marble floors, scattering warmth across the room. The low hum of laughter, clinking glasses, and hushed conversations wrapped the restaurant in an intimate, elegant cocoon. Claire smoothed the edge of her black satin dress for what felt like the 100th time, her fingers trembling despite her best efforts to stay composed. James, her husband, had insisted on a special dinner, claiming they deserved a fresh start after the storms that had battered their marriage. Claire wanted to believe him. She had to. "You look incredible," James said, reaching across the table to take her hand. His smile was warm, but there was something beneath it, a subtle tension, a flicker she couldn't read, that made her chest tighten. She returned his smile, forcing herself to savor this rare moment of romance. Lately, James had been distant. Late nights at the office, cryptic phone calls, and unfamiliar scents lingering on his shirts. Still, Claire pushed the unease aside, choosing hope over suspicion. The waiter arrived with a bottle of deep crimson wine, its rich aroma filling the space between them. James lifted his glass. "To us. To everything we've built. May tonight be a new beginning." Claire's throat tightened. She was about to reply when a sharp, cutting voice tore through the restaurant's quiet hum. "A new beginning? James, a beginning with what?" Heads turned toward the entrance. A tall woman in a striking red dress strode in, heels clicking deliberately against the marble. "Monica the Mistress. With her? With this corpse?" Monica's voice rang out, harsh and accusing, her finger pointing directly at Claire. Time seemed to freeze. Claire's heart raced as she clutched the edge of the table, trying to anchor herself against the shock. "Do you know what he does with me at night, sweetheart?" Monica sneered, stepping closer, eyes blazing with contempt. "He whispers my name, tells me he hates you." "Monica, not here," James muttered, standing, but his voice lacked conviction, as if apologizing for the chaos he'd unleashed. "Oh, I will say it," Monica snapped. Her words were bullets. "Claire, did you know your husband got me pregnant?" "That's right. I'm carrying his child, and he's thrilled. Because unlike you, I can give him a baby." The words hit Claire like a thunderclap. Her legs trembled beneath the table, but she forced herself to remain upright, composed. "You're pregnant?" she asked quietly, her gaze locked on James. He ran a hand over his face, exhaling as though the weight of the world pressed down on him. We were going to discuss this later," he muttered. "Later? You expected me to applaud." Claire's voice rose, steady and icy. She stood, tears threatening to fall, but her posture remained proud, unbroken. The restaurant had become a stage, every patron an unwilling spectator. "Tell me, James, have you even confirmed this pregnancy? Are you sure the child is yours?" Her voice gained strength with every word. James's eyes widened, guilt and anger warring across his face. "What are you implying?" he snapped. "Maybe a DNA test before swearing eternal love wouldn't hurt," Claire replied, her tone sharp, cutting through his defenses. "You snake. How dare you?" Monica stepped forward, but before she could continue, James's rage exploded. He struck Claire across the face. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Claire stumbled, hair falling across her eyes, her cheek burning from the impact. Gasps rippled through the crowd as a waiter rushed to her side. She waved him off weakly, forcing herself upright. "You'll regret every word, every humiliation, every lie," she said, voice unwavering despite the pain. James hesitated, then turned to Monica, theatrically taking her hand. "I've made my choice. She's the woman of my life now," he declared, pressing a kiss to Monica's lips in front of everyone. Some diners fled in disgust, others secretly recorded the confrontation. Claire, stripped of illusions but not dignity, turned and walked out, her face marked but her spirit unbroken. That night marked the first step toward reclaiming her freedom. The taxi ride home was cold and silent. Claire stared at the blur of city lights, betrayal stinging sharper than the pain in her cheek. Every detail, the slap, the stares, the kiss, played over and over in her mind, surreal and painfully real. At home, she kicked off her shoes and sank into the couch, her body exhausted, her heart heavy with the truth. James had never truly loved her. The next morning, he returned. No apology. He tossed his keys onto the counter. Aren't you going to say anything? Last night was rough. Monica showed up, yes, but you provoked it too, he said casually, as if nothing had happened. Claire met his gaze, unflinching. I provoked it? Her voice was icy and precise. I didn't provoke your cheating, your humiliation, or the slap in front of strangers. You doubted me, doubted your own child, and struck me. What did you expect? That I'd still respect you? That I'd accept your lies? James crossed his arms defensively. Now you're playing the victim. You've never been easy, Claire. Always cold, always distant. Monica listens. She understands me. Then stay with her, Claire said, rising calmly. Stay with your cowardice and your lies. Fine. I chose her. Best decision of my life, he said, arrogance dripping from every word. Then why are you here? In a house that's no longer yours. He faltered, caught off guard by her unshakable resolve. Claire stood tall, her face still bearing the mark of his violence, her gaze steady and unwavering. That night, she packed only the essentials, leaving behind the remnants of a life built on betrayal. She chose freedom. Days later, Monica flaunted pictures with James online, perfect smiles, intertwined hands, captions like, "True love always wins." Claire observed without reaction, outwardly calm, inwardly simmering with resolve. One afternoon at a farmer's market, a stranger approached. Are you the woman from the restaurant? She asked softly. You were brave. That wasn't a scandal. That was liberation. For the first time since that night, Claire smiled. She felt seen, not just as a woman betrayed, but as someone who had survived a life disguised as stability. Later, while sorting through James's old documents, she stumbled upon his contacts notebook and remembered Jack, his longtime friend. A spark of clarity ignited. If Monica had lied to James, what else was she hiding? Determined, Claire reached out to a former client, connecting with a private investigator. She wasn't chasing scandal. She sought truth, a quiet unraveling of deception. With the detective on the case, Claire returned to her routine deliberately cautious. She wasn't seeking revenge. She wanted peace. She changed her number, avoided familiar haunts, and stayed off social media. Outwardly composed, she carried herself with quiet dignity, but beneath the calm, a storm of justice and discovery brewed. One morning, a plain envelope arrived at Claire's small coastal home. Its contents were unassuming, yet explosive. Photographs taken in a downtown garage, capturing Monica, sunglasses shielding her eyes, stepping out of a sleek car and being greeted by Jack, James's longtime friend, who casually draped his arm around her waist. The images followed them into a loft, showing stolen kisses in an elevator, whispered arguments, and Monica gesturing at her phone as if guarding a secret. The investigators' report that accompanied the photos spelled it out plainly. Frequent meetings, intimate encounters, possibly a romance that had begun long before Claire and James separated. Claire sank onto the couch, her stomach twisting, not with anger, but with relief, a sense of clarity settling over her. Monica hadn't been a convenient fling. She'd been playing two men, while James, blinded by his own vanity, had been utterly deceived. For hours, Claire considered calling James, sending the photos, returning the humiliation he had inflicted on her that night at the Belmont. But a quiet voice inside refused. She had already fallen and risen again. She would not give them that power. The envelope sat on the table, a silent reminder that truth always finds its way, and that time has its own relentless sense of justice. In the days that followed, Claire sold the downtown loft, took the proceeds, and moved to Santa Barbara for a fresh start. She rented a small, sun-kissed house near the sea, its whitewashed walls softened by the ocean breeze. She found work at an upscale clothing store as a style consultant. The owner, Tricia, was warm and generous, quickly becoming a friend. You have a trained eye, Claire, Tricia said one afternoon. Clients love you. You really have a sensitivity for what works. Claire smiled, feeling herself returning to the woman she had been before James, before betrayal. One afternoon, while admiring a jewelry display, Claire noticed a man arranging pieces inside the shop. He was understated, rolled-up sleeves, crisp white shirt, reading glasses perched on his nose. He smiled. "Do you like natural stone jewelry?" he asked. "I like honest pieces," Claire replied. He laughed, a quiet, easy sound, and extended his hand. "I'm Patrick. I own this shop." Their handshake was simple, unpretentious, and conversation flowed effortlessly. They didn't pry or impress. They spoke of travel, books, music, sharing ideas and stories with a natural rhythm of understanding. In the weeks that followed, Patrick became a steady presence. Small, thoughtful gestures, a delicate necklace, a leather bracelet, a single hidden flower, marked his visits. Claire wasn't ready for love, but for the first time, she felt she could trust someone. Patrick's attention was quiet and steady, bringing coffee to the shop, helping her lock up in the rain, inviting her to lunch on the beach. One chilly evening, he arrived with homemade soup. "You worry about everyone," he said gently. "Tonight, I'll take care of you." Claire hesitated, fear and desire intertwined. "I'm not ready for a relationship," she admitted. "I'm not asking for that," Patrick said. "I just want to be near you, if you'll let me." And she did. Meanwhile, back in Los Angeles, James's life began to unravel. Monica grew increasingly unstable, jealous, possessive, impulsive. She created scandals at his company, publicly questioned his fidelity, and stirred chaos wherever she went. James, blinded by vanity, believed he was in control, unaware the ground beneath him was crumbling. Jack drifted away, or so James thought, while Jack and Monica continued seeing each other in secret. On the coast, Claire threw herself into community projects with Trisha, teaching style workshops for women rebuilding their lives. She laughed again, freely, without reservation. One Sunday, Patrick invited her on a boat ride. The sky was unbroken blue, the water calm, reflecting the fading sun. Patrick gently took her hand. "You have a different light," he said. "It's not just beauty, it's courage." Claire felt warmth rise in her chest. She no longer cried for James or Monica. Her tears were for herself, for the woman reclaiming her strength, her voice, her autonomy. Meanwhile, James returned home one afternoon to find Monica trembling on the couch, tears streaking her face. "What now?" he demanded, frustration sharpening his words. Monica's voice quivered. "I have to tell you something, but you have to promise to listen until I finish." James closed his eyes, sensing the disaster before it landed. Monica confessed. "The baby, it might not be yours." James froze. "What do you mean it's not mine?" Rage and disbelief cracked his voice. "You destroyed everything. Our marriage, our lives, and now this?" "It was a mistake," Monica whispered. "Jack, he was there. It happened before we were truly together." James felt the room spin. "You played me," he shouted, grabbing her arms. Suddenly, Jack appeared in the doorway, holding a key James had never known existed. "Let her go, James," he shouted. "You two? You were my friend, you bastard." James roared. Jack didn't hesitate. His punch sent James crashing into the wall. Monica sobbed uncontrollably while James lay on the floor, his face burning, not just from the impact, but from humiliation. He remembered Claire, the night at the Belmont, her public dignity, her quiet strength. She had already known the depth of the deception. She had chosen silence. She had left. That truth cut deeper than any punch. That night, James slept in a cheap motel near Alex. Monica and Jack locked themselves in the apartment, erasing him from their lives. The room reeked of mildew and stale air. He barely recognized the man staring back at him in the bathroom mirror. Betrayal, abandonment, humiliation. The words echoed in his mind. Monica's parting sentence haunted him. "The baby might not be yours." Days passed. James avoided the apartment, ignored calls, wandered with nowhere to go. Finally, he returned to the West Hollywood home he once shared with Claire. The house was empty, echoes of their lives lingering in every corner. In a forgotten drawer, he found an envelope, the detective's report commissioned by Claire. Photos of Monica and Jack together, undeniable proof of betrayal. Inside, a handwritten note. "I could have made a scandal, but I chose silence. Pain fades, but dignity doesn't." Time will treat you as you treated me. Goodbye." The ground disappeared beneath him. The woman he had believed fragile had left with a grace he could never possess. She knew. She overcame. She won. Crushed by shame and the weight of his failures, he turned off his phone, quit his job, sold his car, and fled the country, living with a distant cousin in Spain, desperate to escape the story he had written himself. Meanwhile, Claire's life flourished. Her connection with Patrick deepened, slow and steady. With him, she discovered that love doesn't scream, threaten, or wound while pretending to care. With Patrick, love simply existed, gentle, honest, and kind, and Claire finally understood what it meant to be truly free. One crisp afternoon in Santa Barbara, Claire returned from a bustling craft fair, a tote bag brimming with handmade treasures swinging from her shoulder. At first, she dismissed the faint flutter in her stomach as fatigue, the kind that comes from wandering sunlit streets and breathing in the salty coastal air. But as evening fell and the town's lights flickered on, the unease grew sharper. Morning sickness hit unexpectedly, accompanied by dizziness and a heavy weight pressing against her chest. When she realized she had missed her period, the truth became undeniable. Sitting on the edge of her small sunlit bed, Claire held a tiny plastic stick in trembling hands. Two stark lines stared back at her. Tears blurred her vision, not from shock, not from fear, but from a swell of pure, uncontainable emotion. She was pregnant. Moments later, Patrick arrived. He had sensed her hesitation on the phone and come immediately, worry etched across his gentle features. "What happened?" he asked softly, kneeling beside her and taking her hands in his. Claire showed him the test. "I'm pregnant." Patrick's eyes softened, his lips curving into a reassuring smile. "If you'll let me, I want to be with you every step of the way," he said, voice low and steady, grounding her in the moment. Claire cried again, but these were tears of happiness, of calm, complete relief. This was no ending. It was the start of something beautiful, a chapter written in hope, love, and the promise of new life. Thousands of miles away, in a modest apartment in Portland, Maine, James scrolled through social media and froze. There she was, Claire, walking along a sun-kissed beach, one hand resting gently on her growing belly, a genuine smile lighting her face. Beside her, Patrick's presence was steady, comforting. The caption read simply, "New beginnings. Now we are 3. The phone slipped from James's hand, clattering against the hardwood floor. He sank against the wall, the weight of loneliness and regret pressing down like a stone. "I lost the only woman who truly loved me," he whispered, voice trembling, knowing it was far too late. Back on the coast, Claire moved through the streets with a lightness she had never known. Her belly grew, carrying the promise of new life, while her days were filled with meaningful work. Trisha's boutique thrived, and Claire poured herself into teaching style classes for women rebuilding their lives, offering not just advice, but empathy, patience, and encouragement. Patrick was always at her side, now her fiancé, her partner in life's quiet joys. Everything felt genuine. Nothing was exaggerated, yet everything was profound in its simplicity. One evening, Patrick closed Patrick's jewelers early and suggested a surprise. Claire, in a flowing dress that caught the evening breeze, dark hair loose around her shoulders, trusted him completely. He led her down a winding path to a secluded cove where the Pacific shimmered in soft twilight. Nestled in the sand was a small arrangement of flowers, petals glowing under the fading sun. In the center lay a delicate pearl pendant and a folded letter. Claire picked up the letter, eyes welling with tears. "They hurt you, but you never stopped blooming. I want to walk with you every day, care for you and our child. If you'll let me, I want to be your home forever." Looking up, she found Patrick on one knee, a gentle, steady smile on his face. "Will you marry me, Claire?" Her voice trembled, a quiver of happiness and relief, and for the first time, she said yes with her whole heart, truly at peace. Meanwhile, James's reality could not have been more stark. In Portland, he worked long hours at a small bar, washing glasses, waiting tables, trying to rebuild a life shattered by his own choices. Nothing took hold. Occasionally, Jack sent messages seeking forgiveness, but James ignored them. Monica had vanished entirely, A DNA test had confirmed what he dreaded. The child was Jack's. Word spread. Whispers followed him wherever he went. The once respected man had become little more than a cautionary tale. Alone, he replayed memories obsessively, always stopping at one particular moment, Claire dancing freely in their West Hollywood living room, laughter spilling around her, a memory of light and joy he had destroyed. On the coast, Claire sat on her terrace overlooking the sparkling Pacific, pen in hand, journaling her reflections. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need revenge. I only had to stand up again. Life took care of putting everything in its place. Today more than ever, I know I am made of strength and love. Months later, Lily was born, a healthy, vibrant girl with her mother's dark eyes and Patrick's gentle smile. Holding her close, Patrick whispered softly, "She is our light." Claire smiled, feeling the full weight of her journey. Her story could have been defined by betrayal and bitterness, but she chose something different: rebirth. And in the quiet, sun-drenched streets of Santa Barbara, surrounded by love and the soft murmur of the sea, she was truly, completely reborn. You just heard this one from Stories by Sue. If it resonated, don't forget to like and subscribe. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments. I'd love to hear. Thanks for watching.